People tell me all the time, hey Adam, I am tired of dealing with long-term tenants. I'm considering doing short-term, but I don't know how, when, or why. So today, we're gonna go through the criteria on why you should turn your long-term rentals into short-term rentals and make more money. Here we go. Welcome back to REI Simplified, where we break down complex real estate situations, scenarios, and strategies to help people like me and you, the beginning investor. Today we're talking about taking your long-term rentals and converting them into short-term rentals. Why would anybody do that? Well, there's many reasons. I'm going to tell you from my experience why we have done so to 22 of our properties so far. And we still have a few that we're looking to possibly convert here in the near future. It comes down to a numbers game, risk mitigation, and overall fulfillment of life. I know that sounds a little extra, but here's how we identify what we're looking for a short-term rental. So generally speaking, a short-term rental, the smaller homes are going to have a smaller mortgage, obviously. To compare apples to apples, if we have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house and the mortgage is, let's say, $800, we may be able to rent that house out for maybe $1,100, $1,125 maybe. So we have a $300 markup. It's not bad, that's really good. However, that same house with an $800 mortgage will bring us in about $2,500. Now we do have more overhead expenses with those properties. When property A was a long-term rental, property A only had the mortgage that we had to pay for. The tenants took care of the utilities, the lawn care, the Wi-Fi, and all that kind of stuff. So $800 is what I paid to PennyMac Wells Fargo, the mortgage company. The tenant paid me $1,100. I had a profit of $300. Not bad. However, that same property A, the mortgage is going to go from $800 to about $875 when the insurance changes. When I say mortgage, I mean PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So that PITI complete mortgage payment ends up being a little bit higher. We also have to pay for lawn care in the summertime. We have to pay for utilities year-round and also Wi-Fi year-round. So that $800 now goes to about $1,000, maybe $1,025, give or take. But that property will bring us between $1,800 and $2,600, give or take, depending on supply and demand, time of year, and activities going on in our area. So, yes, for that property, which is what we've done for so many of those, that property makes sense to convert from a long-term rental into a short-term rental. I have a little bit more overhead expenses, but I have a lot more gross income. And what ends up happening is the net profit that was $300 is usually about 2.5 to 3 times more. So while we were making $300, now we're making about $750 to $900, sometimes even more than that. You know, if it's wedding season, PCS season, spring break, some of those different high-end types of the year. So now, like I said, it's a numbers game. So you want to make sure that you run those numbers and don't take it for granted that your mortgage is so low when you're dealing with long-term tenants. Another reason we convert our short-term tenants or rentals into long-term is because the smaller home, and this is politically incorrect, I'm gonna put it out there right now. The smaller home with the smaller mortgage with the smaller rental amount usually have the tenants cannot pay on time. For whatever reason, the less amount of rent that we charge, the harder it is to receive that payment. There's many factors that I believe that goes into that, not for this video, but just historically speaking, in my personal history, historical data, the lower the rent amount, the less likely it is for that person to pay on time and take care of the property. It is what it is for a different video. So, in saying that, with those smaller properties and those less than desirable tenants, when we convert them over into short-term rentals, now instead of me dealing with a bad tenant for 12 months, I'm on a short-term basis now. So one of the pros is that I shorten the relationship between myself and the tenants. If it's a bad relationship, but it's 12 months long, I'm locked in. If it's a bad relationship with a short-term tenant and they stay for 3 days, well, you know, I enjoyed the 3 days, don't stay with us ever again. But it's a short relationship, short terms. Another positive to converting your properties into short terms is the maintenance effect. Again, for whatever reason, the smaller the rental amount for the long-term rentals, the worse the house is maintained. So when we convert those same properties over into short-term rentals, myself or my cleaning crew or my handyman are in those properties every 3 or 4 days because there's a turnover. So any issues that we find are dealt with immediately. On the opposite end of that versus long-term rentals, we've had tenants before on long-term smaller houses that there was a leaky faucet, there was something so small that began or turned into something so big because they don't take care of stuff, they never report. So with the short-term rentals, I have people in there twice a week, if not myself. They report back, we're able to fix issues before they get way too big. Now let's talk about the cons of converting a long-term rental into a short-term rental. Point blank, you're at the mercy of the market. So here's what happens. If I have a long-term tenant in house A that my mortgage is $800, my rent is $1,100, I'm netting $300 a month. That is a consistent $300 a month. And I can almost bet on that depending on the tenant and other factors, but I know my $300 a month should be coming. However, in a short-term rental scenario situation, and you have many of them like we do, you're at the mercy of what's happening around the world or in your market for that season, that time. So every season, every travel industry has high time, low times. For us, January is a very slow month. So where we go from booming, Thanksgiving and Christmas time frame to crawling in January, you have to plan for that and do your math to kind of lower your expenses for that month of January and just realize that you're gonna have less income, but not panic. So the income, the profit is a lot more inconsistent with short-term rentals versus long-term rentals. With anything, it's high risk, high reward. Take that for what it's worth. If it was easy and it was guaranteed money, everybody would do it. Just like with rentals, it's not easy, it's not guaranteed, but we have chosen to take these educated or minor risk to be able to set ourselves up to be where we are today. So guys, that's it for me talking about converting long-term rentals into short-term rentals. I hope you got something out of this. As always, please subscribe, like, share with a buddy. Why not? It's free. My name is Adam Johnson, your host of REI Simplified. Please leave a comment. I read all comments. We'll get back to you guys. Until the next video, we'll see you guys later.